Hi everyone. Hi Pam. Pam's here. Yay, you're the first one, Pam. Thanks for coming. Oh, someone else is here. We'll have to see who it is. Woohoo, Pam. Yay, I'm glad you were the first one. You'll get us excited. I was trying to do a cheer earlier and my husband just gave me a look. So you and I can be cheerleaders, Pam. We'll wait just a couple of minutes for everybody to come on. And you see my glasses in the screen. I got to find a place for them until we're ready. Pam, did you get any Lavinia this week? Any new Lavinia stamps? Were you one of the ones who placed an order? Let me know. I'm going to rearrange some things on my desk. We're still waiting. Oh, Pam says she did. What did you get, Pam? Did I see a picture on Facebook? I can't remember. Someone posted a picture, and now I should have looked. I can't remember who it was and what. Hi, Dana. There's not everybody there. Oh, there are more people here. Hi, Dana. All of a sudden, we have more. Hi, Katia. Katia's here. Oh yes, Pam, you posted with Melissa and posted some of the things that you got. I can't remember what they were. So I have to tell you guys I guess I try to be honest with everybody. Today was one of those days I spent the whole day in the craft room and I just played and played, and I like to create something or finish something, and it just wasn't a good day. And I mean, so I think tonight it's going to be one of those things where maybe we do some tips and some techniques and maybe a couple of tricks, and I don't know that we're going to get a full kind of project, but I think that's okay sometimes. We can kind of play together and practice some things, and I think it would be really fun if everybody kind of creates their own, and then everybody posts in the next few days and shares what they did and maybe what they can add to what we do tonight. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking, and it's partly just because it was just one of those days in the craft room, and I'm not really sure of what. I couldn't come up with something I was really happy with as far as a scene and what we're going to do. So, if you have some ideas, let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Before we begin, let's talk about real quick. Everybody knows there's new Hello Bluebird and Evelyn T. I think I saw something new, but also replenishment in the store. Dreamerland and Washi is on sale 20% off through the end of the month with code DREAM. Also, Friday, tomorrow, is the new Sugar Pea release. I think Kelly's going to put it on pre-order until it comes in. And then on Saturday is the Sweet November Vault release. So lots more good things coming in the next couple of days. So let's go ahead. I think we'll start with maybe a different kind of background this week. And see, it's one of those things that this is going to be a lot of experimenting and playing, and it's kind of like you get what you get. And we'll see where it goes. So, I was playing with Distress Oxides again, and I thought we would try something different. So I'm trying to think. I should have asked you this earlier to get started. What kinds of colors? I have to tell you. Today I was playing with Spun Sugar, and I have Distress Oxides out again, and Wilted Violet, and some Peacock Feathers together to make a background. And so let's put those like that. And then I really like Twisted Citron, Blueprint Sketch, and Mermaid Lagoon. So those are two different combinations that I had. If you have something else that you guys think might look good, throw some suggestions out. What would you like to see for colors on a background? I like to do at least 3. And this is going to be kind of the smear and spritz and kind of play with it backgrounds. We're not going to do the with the blending brushes and the created scene kind of thing. We're going to go kind of messy. Anybody have any ideas? Anything? There we go. More comments. Oh, let's see. Hi, Kelly. Kelly's here. And Melissa's here too. Hi, Liz. Anybody have any ideas? If not, I'm going to pick on my own. Ideas for backgrounds. Let's get my stuff organized while I'm waiting for suggestions. Any ideas? Okay. 3, 2, 1. I don't know. Oh, there. Dana says, I have no Distress Oxide. I have a few mini Distress inks. Well, Dana, the nice thing is you can do this technique with either regular Distress inks or Distress Oxides. I have to tell you, I like the Distress Oxides are a little bit more opaque, and you can layer the colors without them getting muddy. And Distress inks react a little bit more together, and you can end up getting a muddy color if you keep going. You can go too long and get a muddy color. So that's why I really like the Distress Oxides. I am going to go, because I know this group really likes pinks and purples, I'm going to go with this combination. And what I like to do, so if you watch Tim Holtz or some other people, they will put all 3 colors down and start smearing. And they still kind of blend a little bit more than I like sometimes. So I start with 1 color. Let's start with Peacock Feathers first. I'm going to just put a little bit down, spritz it with quite a bit of water. And here's the other tip. I like a little bit flowy in the beginning, so I will spritz my paper before I put it down. Like that. And then I let it kind of run. And I might even spritz it a little bit more. And here's the other tip with Distress Oxides. Dry it in between. If you dry it, then it will layer and not mix so much. And it doesn't have to be completely dry, just mostly. Remember, they react with water, and so the more water, they're going to mix more. Kelly says more Dreamerland and Sugar Pea releases on the way. Sorry, Liz, she said, I like blues with maybe a splash of purple. So this is Peacock Feathers is probably one of my all-time favorite colors. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this away. Tim says you should use it, but I like to kind of keep it clean. And then let's do a little bit of, what is this? Wilted Violet. And now this time I'm not going to wet my paper again. It would reactivate my Peacock Feathers, and I don't want to do that too much. Let's see what we get when we put it in here. There we go. And I might give it a little bit more spritz to move it a little bit more. So I'm drying it a little bit again. And now let's go in with some spun sugar to kind of soften it up. Pam says, that's cool. Thanks, Pam. I think so too. Wiping this away again. Now, this is spun sugar. And since this is a lighter color, I can put a little bit more of it down and it'll be fine. Lots of water on it. And now let's put the whole thing. Now remember, it's all water activated, so it is going to reactivate the other colors a little bit, but it doesn't completely move them. That's what I said, you can layer them without it becoming muddy. Now here is where you have to start deciding what you're happy with and what you can live with in this kind of controlled craziness. Because you have to live with what you get. But there are certain things you can do to help it. And this is where you can control it a little bit. So I'm going to wipe away my mat. Kelly says the Catherine Pooler inks work well for blending also. And I think everybody saw that beautiful card that Melissa did with the whale. I think that was Picket Fence. And it was beautiful, the blending of those inks. And I have some, but to be honest, I don't have a large assortment to try. I can try some of these techniques, but I like to have a big variety, and I don't have a lot of them yet, or else I would be trying that. So here's what you can do. I have my blending brush again, and I'm going to pull the ink out, and I'm going to blend it where I think I need to place color. Especially since it's light, it's not going to be overpowering like the purple and things like that. And I can place it exactly where I think we need to add some, or even to soften some of the other colors. And it might be difficult to see on camera. I'll see if I can pick it up in a second and show you. So some places where I missed, I'm just adding in a touch of color. And by the way, this is a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 Bristol Smooth card panel. And to be honest, the only reason that I made it this size is because I just received some new square dies today that I hope to cut this out with those. And the largest one, it was about 5 inches by 5 inches. So that's the only reason. And also, some of the Lavinia Stamps, to get everything on there to create the scene I want, I kind of feel like we need a bigger card panel. So there you go. Can you see that where I added in some pinks? And I like white space, so I don't think we need to fill in every little spot. Now, here's where you take your spray bottle. This is just my Ranger Distress. If you give a half spray, you get bigger drops. If you give a full spray, you get smaller drops. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to do a couple of half sprays and then a full spray. And I have found with the Distress Oxides, if you let the water droplets sit and then you start to dry them, you'll have much more of a contrast. It's much more dramatic. If you want less, then you kind of spritz it on and then you dab it away and then dry it. I dry a little and then dab. And there we go. See the difference? And then I dry it more. And I'm going to do it again. Hi, Mackie. I see Mackie and Rebecca. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So do you see that? See the difference? Love it. Maybe one more. Oops. Okay, so that's mostly dry. So now, what I could do is go in with some more ink, depending on what color we wanted, and just so that you see the effect. It won't make much of a difference because obviously I'm going to cut this down. So once I cut it down, I would go back around the edges with whatever color I choose. Right now it's the wilted violet, to finish the edges, just like this. And we know we did this the other night. It just helps set the frame for our scene. There we go. And I love that. So, and remember, like we said the other night, I think I'll spritz it one more time. Like we said the other night, heat set everything. And then that way it helps from when you have inky fingers, and it just helps keep everything from smearing. Hi, Robin. I am using the Ranger Heated Craft Tool. It was a Mother's Day gift from my hubby, and I do love it. I like how quiet it is, and it disperses the heat. It's not quite like an embossing heat gun, and so I really like it. I've been using it for a couple of months now. Okay, so the other night we did a moon, and what we did was first I placed the die cut of the circle, and we did our scene around it. We blended the ink. So I wanted to show you tonight a different way that you could get this beautiful background and then do your moon. And I know some of you ordered the moon stamp because when I went back to order it, they were gone. So you could just stamp your moon, and with some kind of white pigment ink. The other night we talked about a couple different ones, but I want to show you how to get this background, and this is the real technique that I wanted to show you today, and really the whole idea that I had for today's demo was this tip, this trick. And I'll be honest, I saw it on YouTube, someone else did it, and I try to give credit where credit is due, and I will try to find her name and give her credit on my blog when I find it, because it was someone who was working on Lavinia. I want to find the middle of my cardstock here, and so I will give her credit on my blog. So this is 5 1/4, so we're going about right here. Oh, I was about perfect there. So I'm going to put my moon here. And this is a die cut stencil we talked about the other night. So this is the way we got our background, and now I'm going to show you the trick to getting this background and now getting this moon a different way than we did it the other night, blending around it. Now, first we did our ink background. This is Dina Wakley white gesso. You can use any kind of gesso. We are basically painting over our background. And I like to mix a little bit of water with it. It doesn't have to be so thick because this is pretty thick. And here's the other thing. The other day I put a little bit of tape behind our moon, and I found today with the background, when I had that tape and I tried to rub it off, it was rubbing some of my background off. It wasn't as easy to rub off. So I'm just trying to hold it down today and not do that. Also, I could again use one of my blending brushes and not a paintbrush to do this. I'm going a little bit more gently around the edges since I'm holding it so that I don't hopefully get any outside. Obviously, because it's a water-based product, you're still going to get some of the color from the background up into our gesso, but that's okay. I'm good with it. And there we go. Not perfect. I hopefully maybe can fix that. It's fine. There. And remember, we add so much to the scene, it's okay that it doesn't look 100% perfect. And the more I mess with it, you know I'm going to mess it up. Okay, so you see, it's a different way. We created our background first without masking off our moon, and then added our moon over it. So now I'm going to dry that. And the nice thing about gesso is it dries very, very quickly. Oh, Dana says she got the moon stamp. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us. See, this gesso is almost already dry. I love it. What this gesso does is it allows us to paint or watercolor or stamp right over top of it, but will obviously make the image pop more and add color without muddying up color from our background. So there's our moon, dry. And if you remember, I took my blending brushes and without really worrying too much exactly about where the shadows are on the moon, we gave the hint of those the other night. So I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to use a little bit of hickory smoke, distress oxide, and we might, hopefully this will work. And I'm just going to gently tap it on first to get the idea of where I want my shadows. I think that would look pretty good. And now I'm going to gently blend those in. And those are really dark. So the nice thing is also with the gesso, it keeps your, especially the oxides, a little bit wet longer. And also, since it's water-based, I could even add a little bit of water in here and move it around and play with it until I'm happy. I could even go in with some white pigment ink to keep working it, because we just need the illusion of those shadows. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I am not happy with it, but let me see. I was almost happier when we first kind of tapped it on there. I'm okay with that. I can live with it. Let's dry it and move on and see what happens. Like I said, this is kind of how my day's been. And so we just have to keep going. Sheila says, got me some gesso, some of those brushes, and now she just needs time to play. Love it. So dry this. And then I loved it. I don't know if you guys saw the card when I finished our project last week and I got it posted. I think one of my favorite things, and what most people responded to, was they loved the aura that was created around the moon. It was beautiful. It made it look ethereal, which was perfect for the Lavinia Stamps. So let's make sure we do that. And we did that with the pigment ink and that same distress brush, or blending brush. And let's gently go in, and I'm just adding some color softly around it, and then we can blend it out. And I think we may have even added just a hint of blue. Ooh, there's a lot there. And to just make it pop. And it was beautiful. So, and I'm just going to blend it out just a little. And if you get a lot, it's okay, because that's what's nice about these brushes. Just take it on around and blend it out. Now I have to tell you something else that I played with a little bit today are the Finnabair waxes. And I'd like to play a little bit more because I think if I could get it right, I think adding a little bit of that, like a silvery wax around the moon, would be beautiful. But you have to know, once you put the wax down, it's going to stay. So I'm not sure how much of that you can really see. Let's see, can you see that? It's soft, it softens it. We would just have to keep playing with this and adding. So that was the actual main trick I wanted to show you, and we can do this again in something else. It's adding gesso over our blended background to then be able to add more color. So I think I'm going to use this little acorn stamp that I got, and we'll see how it goes. Let me find it. Kelly had this acorn in the store, and I thought it was so cute. But it's another one of those stamps that it's big. It's bigger than you think it's going to be. And so it may not be great with this panel. If I had it to do again, I would probably make a taller panel that I could put this acorn house on. But let's see how it goes, and I can show you painting the gesso on and adding color, how that looks. So here's what we're going to do. This is called the Acorn Dwelling, and I think Kelly might still have these in the shop. So I'm going to, now I know my sister made a big deal the other day that I stamped, and she was so worried without my Misty. But I have to tell you, I'm not so brave tonight, and I'm using the Misty because of this technique we're doing. So, now here's the other thing that I'm going to put this back on here. With Lavinia Stamps, another nice thing about it is, whether you're coloring or stamping, there's shading already on a lot of the stamps. So I try to keep in mind, I need to, earlier today, what did I do? I put it on this side. Didn't make much sense because there's the shading and here's my moon. So I need to put it over here because the moon would be shining onto my acorn house that way. So let's put this in here. And you know what? One thing I didn't do was heat set some of our pigment ink. So let's do that quickly. Oh, Kelly says she has more blending brushes coming in. That's exciting. I have to tell you, Kelly, I might be ordering more because I found myself using them over and over again so much, I actually needed more. So even though this isn't great, oh, you know what I forgot, guys? We need to do our land kind of here. Remember the shading? I got ahead of myself thinking about this new trick I wanted to do. So very quickly, let's take this out. Sorry. I told you it's been one of those days today. Let's do our land. And I have to tell you, I already tore one today and I used it, and let's use it again. Look, I stamped my acorn already, priming my stamp. And you know what else I found that I loved? You don't even really have to prime the Lavinia Stamps. I love that. So I'm going to use, let's start with smoke. And if I don't like it, we'll use black soot. So here we go. I don't know what color's on this brush already. It'll be fine. So I already tore my paper earlier. Same, if you're not sure what I'm doing or how I'm using it, watch last week's video, and that's where I show you how to tear this paper and create the mountain. Last week we created mountains in a valley, and so if you need a little bit more, go, and you haven't watched it, go back and watch last week's video, and it'll give you more information. I'm thinking this hickory smoke is not going to be dark enough. It's okay, but I think I want some black soot in here. I'm starting off to the side because it should be darker from the side anyway. And then we'll blend over. Even now, let's add, I'm going to add just a little bit more with this little brush so that it doesn't go so far down. take a peek. There we go. Yay! Who said, was it T or Tracy who talked about my ta-das last week? I get excited about my own stuff, I know. I get excited about everybody's stuff. So, let's do another one here. I'm going to tap first to get a little color on there and get some off my brush before I put it on too heavy. And then blend with this one. See how it goes. And that's the other nice thing about these distress oxides. They're very forgiving. If you get too much, you can pretty much fix it. Nothing's totally permanent. Okay. There we go. Now, I'm going to heat set this. Last week I added color first. And I'll go ahead and add some color now. I think let's add some picked raspberry just for fun. Let's make this really bright and fun today. If we don't like this, we can do something else. First, I'm going to heat set these colors. Let's make this really bright and fun and just see what we think. Ooh, I like that. The other nice thing about the distress oxides, you see this color that I put in here from the black and the gray? It's okay. It just wipes off. It does not hurt your ink pad. So I love that. No problem. See that? So now let's heat set this again. Now we're ready for our little, and like I said, I know this isn't the perfect scene. I will kind of configure this and redo this for our final product. But like I said, the point of tonight, I'm going to try to keep it in an hour. Let's just work on some tips, tricks, and the techniques. And I think it would be really fun for everybody to, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much. I think it will be really fun for everybody to do their own thing and try some of these different techniques and tips, and then post it on the 7 Kids Create Facebook, and everybody can show all the different things that they did and maybe anything else that they tried that worked that they want to share, and you know, what they liked. And I like it when everybody posts all their, and everybody does something different. Now let's get our Misty with our little acorn and put him in here. I would probably, when I do this again, I might even make this a smaller moon and put it to this side, since my acorn is, it just depends on the size of the, what I decide to do for the size of my card or my picture. So here's my acorn. let's get the VersaFine Nocturne out and move this up so you can see. Now, I will tell you, here's another tip. It's very easy to get ink here in the middle, and then I transferred it onto my acorn over here. So I'm trying to keep the ink around the edges and keep it out of that open space. So I'm going to be gentle there in the middle anyway. And I will tell you, this doesn't have to be a solid, perfect image. We are going right now for the basic outline because we are going to use our gesso again. This is how we're going to add color to our acorn house. And any other bigger stamp that you want to add color to over our inked background. And what's nice is, remember, the VersaFine Clair Nocturne is a pigment ink and it does not react with water. So we can watercolor over it. We're going to gesso over it. And then we're going to ink back over the gesso and watercolor so that we have lots of color on our picture. I'm making sure that this is dry. I'm looking for it to be kind of dull and not shiny anymore, and I will know that it's mostly dry. There we go. Now, I'm going to leave it right in here while I gesso. Let's see if I can move it so that you can see what I'm doing off to the side. So I have my white gesso again. And I found that earlier today I may have watered it down too much, and I want to keep the integrity of it. I think if I add too much water, it may cause problems with our watercoloring afterwards. So you have to play with it and keep the right mixture. As long as I have the outline, and since it's in my MISTI, I'm not worried about problems. So I'm filling that in. What this is doing is creating the base, basically making our purple and pink. And you know what? I just realized we don't really see much peacock feathers in there anymore. We might have to add some more of that in. And I'm just coloring right over that image. Painting over it with the gesso, I should say. Now I'm not even really adding much water in. I've decided it's okay. We're just going straight in. And I actually kind of like that because it covers up even more of the colored background. Even these rocks here, I'm going to quickly dab those and be done. Close this up, dry it. Ooh, Sheila says multiple moons. I like that. That's a great idea. Good idea. Sheila, you do that and then make sure you post that so we can see it because I love it. I got it really thick right here. I'm going to dab some up. but I'm not that worried. Once again, looking for it to dull, tells me it's dry. Now, I am going to stamp again with my versifying nocturne. And this is why I used the Misty again, so that we were sure to get it in the same spot. I'm going to do it again. I may have missed some spots because I'm trying not to get it in the middle. Or I just may not have pushed in some areas. Or it may even be the gesso was still wet in some spots. But because it's in the Misty, I know I can do it again. Ta-da! There we go. That was much better. Heat set it. Now, I really want to make sure that this is dry. Now, I have to tell you, I have this path, and probably when I do my finished one, I will use this, but I'm not going to do it right now. It's this one. It looks like the steps, and I love this. I just think it adds so much interest and dimension, but I'm not going to do it right now. You'll see it on probably whatever I do for the final one, but I love that. Okay, just so you know, that's what I plan on doing. I'm just not going to do it right now so that we can start coloring our acorn and hopefully keep this to an hour. But that's my plan. We'll see. Okay, set that aside. So here's my acorn. Now I will tell you, I played with this quite a bit today. You could paint this. I tried using distress inks, and I found when I use my blending brushes and I use the distress inks over the gesso, it didn't want to dry and it would lift up easily. So I pulled out my zigs and the watercolor brush markers, and they did a much better job. So let's see what we can use here. I'm trying to think what would look good. Let's do maybe some blues. Let's do some light blues and some darker blues. And these are, as you know, a water brush. They're water-based for watercoloring. and I love them. I actually had bought the smaller set, and I love them so much, I bought the bigger set. So let's do a lighter blue on the bottom. Let me get my water brush ready. Okay. I am going to put a lot of this color down. And then a darker color, we'll see how we like it, over here in our shadows. And I have to tell you, I am just learning how to watercolor. Like I said, I just bought my zigs, so I am not the person to watch watercoloring yet. I am still learning. And it's going to react differently on this gesso than it would on regular paper anyway. So you have to get the feet, it moves. This is plastic. You basically put down a thin layer of plastic with gesso. So the colors move differently. Okay, so let's let that dry just a little bit. And now let's go in with maybe a different shade of blue, a brighter blue on the bottom. I'm just playing. This might not be, like I said, the perfect end result, but I just wanted you to see how we could lay down other colors and do a different kind of background to get a completely different look. I'm going to put a darker color here in the shadows. And you see that I'm just using my markers right now. Maybe we don't even have to go in with any water because it moves it and dilutes it, and maybe we don't like that. So it's up to you just to play with it and see what you like. I could even, while it's still wet, damp, because it stays wet on the gesso, we can just leave it from the marker and go in with our paper towel and pick some of that up without even adding any water to it. Oops, see, now I messed up the top because it was still wet. There. Not perfect, but it really works over the gesso. That's the trick that I'm trying to share tonight. Now, I'm trying not to touch it because it's staying wet, but I'm just showing you if we add in some browns here for our door. We have to be careful. Those blues, I should probably heat set those, but I'm trying to go quickly and just show you. How we can even just color it and not even, add any water. But I did find that I thought the zigs stayed more color fast over the gesso. Then I had better luck than I did with Distress Oxides. So that's what I ended up really liking the best on here. So now let's heat set it. Dana says, can you use white paint instead of gesso? I think, Dana, I haven't tried it. You could try it for us and let us know. I just automatically reached for the gesso because it is a good base coat for things. But try white paint. You might find that the white paint reacts more with the Distress Oxide background or a Distress Ink background than gesso does. Now, I find this interesting. As I'm drying this, just like normal watercolors, the color's lightening. The zig color is lightening as it dries. So you would want to go back in with your markers and add more color for more shading, things like that. Now, one more trick that I want to show you before we finish tonight, because it did get cut off of my very first demo that I did, and people were interested in it, and I would use it again for this when we're finished. Two things I want to do quickly. After I'm all finished with my scene, I have it all done. I have found that the easiest way to add shadows to almost anything you'll see on a lot of my cards and things, I'm adding shadows and shading with charcoal pencils. And this is just a Derwent charcoal pencil. This is medium. It comes in light, medium, and dark. And I always start with lighter or medium, and then I go to dark if I need to. So if the moon's shining this way, I'm probably going to have some shadow here, right, from my acorn house. So I would go into the side and add some line. You can barely see it here with my charcoal pencil, and then I'm going to scribble some out to just add my shading. Now I take my tortillon, take it from the side, and then blend those shadows out. And then soften it here. You need to add more in because it's with the shading that's already there, you aren't going to see it, so you will want to go somewhat dark with it. So I might even go in with dark. And add a little bit more. Can you see that? And that was a tip that I had tried to show, and it got cut off of that first video. Now I have to be honest with you, when I'm not the best at shading and understanding light and how things look, so I almost always go and I will pull up a picture. What does a shadow of a house look? What does the shadow of a tree look like? And look at some pictures and then go in so that I kind of have the idea here. And it would probably be all of this. But remember, our path would be right here anyway. So I love the charcoal pencils. It's my new favorite thing for subtle shading. Kelly says, have you tried masking fluid? I will tell you, Kelly, I have tried 2 different masking fluids, and I have not had very much luck. And I haven't tried again. I'm kind of like one of those people, I get impatient. If it doesn't work, I just move on. And I found when I used it, and maybe I did it wrong, both kinds that I tried, when I rubbed, it pulled up my paper. And so I just could not get it to work. I tried both of those a couple different times. Most of the time what I do is I use a mask. I will cut a mask, especially like when I'm doing flowers and I want to do something behind it to like blend ink like we did the first time. I created a mask with the moon. I will cut it out of Inkadinkado masking paper, or like I said, I just tried this technique today, and I really like this for this kind of background and using these stamps. And I think you'll be surprised when we can get a finished project. It's stunning. It's amazing what you can do. And I think you can see that from doing this little one, the difference. And the other thing I would do to add in some other colors that I said earlier, the last thing is I would some kind of mask this off with Post-its, and I would do our splatters again, and I would use the colors that we use. This is how I would add in more of those peacock feathers. I would smush this on a block, add some water, and then take my paintbrush and tap it off to get some more colors back here. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you have some ideas? Did I give you some tips? I don't feel like this is as exciting as last week because we don't have almost a finished project. One other thing I showed last week in my final card, I used a white, or you can use a silver gel pen, and we can add highlights to this, and it makes a huge difference. Let's see if you can see these. And sometimes I start with just dots and lines, and I don't know if you can see it on here. Let's see. Can you see that? Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And to really add in some of the highlights, and it makes a big difference. So just try some different things. Let us know what works. It's hard to see in the camera. You can really see once we get pictures taken of these little highlights with the white or the silver gel pen. Okay, so, Kelly says she uses vellum to mask with. That's a good idea. I like that too, because then you can see through it and see where you are and what you're doing. So that's a great idea. I can't wait to see what you guys all do. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And post all your cards. And don't forget, we have pre-order for, let's see, is it Sugar Pea Designs, and 20% off Dreamerland and Washi through the end of the month with the code DREAM. And Sweet November Vault release is on Saturday. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Take care. See you soon.